Hello, this video is about the most important term in Buddhist metaphysics. Now, the next 17 points are going to be about the spirit, or the mind, or the citta, usually translated from the Pali as mind. You might think that the next 17 points might be slightly dry, but I assure you, if you're interested in Buddhism at all, this list is the most important, concise summation of what Buddhism is and is not. The paraphrasable core, if you will, of Buddhism, i.e. the citta, translated as mind, but actually means spirit. In the Greek, the term would be nous. Let's get into what Buddhism is and is not, discussing this one particular term that is the alpha and the omega of Buddhism, the entire crux both of wisdom and of samadhi and sati, usually translated as meditation, absorption, or jhana. In other words, the entire basis of Buddhahood revolves around this one noun only, and its 17 proprietary designations in Scripture which are given to no other noun, to no other term, period. Let's forget about anatta and anatman and set that on the back burner for a couple of videos. I've had a lot of requests from people discussing, okay, and we know that anatta means that there is no denial of the atman in Scripture, but let's get to the heart of what Buddhism is. What is its core principle? I've prepared a list for you here, and I assure you, if you pay attention and you just follow with me just for a few minutes, you're going to see that this list is extremely important. You want to take note of this. If you have any interest in Buddhism at all, this list is extremely important. These 17 designations are made in Scripture only given with regards to the citta, the mind, the nous, or the spirit. No other proper noun is given such a status. Nothing but the citta itself is so lauded in so many proprietary and important ways. There is no other higher acclaim in Buddhist doctrine and Buddhist sutta than these 17 points given to the noun citta. The purification of one's own citta. This is meant the doctrine of the Buddha, Buddha Sasana, Dignakeya 2.49. How important is that? Nothing else is so deemed in Scripture other than the citta. How is it that one is called a Buddha? Majjhima Nikaya 2.144. The answer? Gnosis, that the citta, purified, vishuddham. Such is how one is deemed a Buddha. In other words, citta vishuddhya, the purification of the citta, is equal to Buddhahood. How important is that? Well, that's utmost importance. That would be the core metaphysics not only of Buddhism, but also of Platonism and all forms of mysticism, by the way. Whether you translate citta as mind, or spiritus sancto, or use the Greek term nous, really isn't that important. The important thing is that this one word, the citta, is the most important thing, and is the definition of Buddhahood, of Tathagatahood. Point 2, the citta is the only thing, the only noun in Scripture which is said to obtain the state of being taintless, anasava, Dignakeya 2.35, Majjhima Nikaya 1.501, Majjhima Nikaya 3.20, Samyutta Nikaya 3.45, etc., etc. Point 3, citta is the only thing, the only noun in Sutta which is said to be obtained or gathered within the realm of immortality. He gathers his citta within the realm of immortality. Amatya dataya. This is tranquility. This is that which is most excellent. Majjhima Nikaya 1.436. This is immortality. That being the liberated citta. Vimutta citta. Majjhima Nikaya 2.265. Anguttara Nikaya 1.282. He gathers the citta inside the immortal realm. Amatya dataya. Point 4. The citta is the only noun in Scripture which is said to be the basis, aramana, for parinirvana, parinibbana in the Pali, said immediately after the passing of Gautama's physical death. Dignakeya 2.157, no longer would subsist by in-breath, out-breath, so he, Gautama, who is steadfast in the citta, inherently quelled from all desires, the mighty sage is passed beyond. Within mind, citta, limitless, as meant Brahma, he no longer bears sensations, illumined and unbound, nibbana. His citta is definitely ahu, liberated, vimutta. The taintless, anasava citta is equal to parinibbana, right there in Dignakeya 2.157 as well as countless other passages. Samyutta Nikaya 3.45, the citta being so liberated and arisen from defilements, one is fixed in the soul as liberation. One is quelled in fixation upon the soul. Quelled within the soul, one is unshakable. Most important attribute given to any noun in Sutta, unshakable. So being unshakable, the very soul, one is thoroughly unbound, parinibbana. This said, the liberated citta, which does not cling, means nibbana. How important is that? Majjhima Nikaya 2, Arakara 4.68. In other words, Nibbana is equal to the Vimutta Citta. There are countless such passages. Point 5. The Citta is the only thing, the only noun in Sutta, which is differentiated from the 5 khandhas. This is so important. If you don't understand this, then you're too stupid to be watching this video, and you're too stupid to be investigating Buddhism. I'm sorry, but I have to say that. The only thing which is differentiated from the 5 khandhas, Rupa, Vedana, Sana, Sankhara, and Vijnana, in Scripture, in Sutta, not my opinion, not my conjecture, not my translation, what the Pali actually says. Majjhima Nikaya 1.436 and Anguttara Nikaya 4.422, same passage. Whatever forms, feelings, perceptions, experiences, or consciousness, i.e. the 5 khandhas, these he sees to be without permanence, anicca, as suffering, as dukkha, as ill, as a plague, a boil, a sting, a pain, an affliction, as foreign, as otherness, as empty, shunyata, as selfless, with a capital S, anattata in the Pali. So he turns the citta, he turns it away from these 5 khandhas. Once again, we have something that is other than the 5 khandhas in Scripture. In other words, there is liberation, there is immortality, there is other than the psychophysical, i.e. the 5 khandhas. Therein he gathers the citta within the realm of immortality. Amatya Datya. This is tranquility, this is that which is most excellent. You understand this? The only thing which is differentiated from the 5 khandhas is turned away from them, and is inflexed back upon itself, i.e. synthesis or samadhi or assimilation, or in the Greek would be epistrophe, is the citta. Majjhima Nikaya 1.511. For a long time I've been cheated, treated, and hoodwinked by my citta, meaning the citta of a fool, the commoner, the putujana, meaning the common idiot, the common boob. For when grasping, I've been grasping onto form. When I'm grasping, I've been grasping onto feelings. When grasping, I'm grasping onto perceptions, etc., experiences, and consciousness. In other words, the citta has been that which has been grasping after the 5 khandhas. This isn't my translation. This is what the Pali actually says. Majjhima Nikaya 1.511. In other words, the citta of the fool, given primordial ignorance, or avidya, however, avidya literally is the attribute of the absolute. We'll get into that in another video. Is grasping on to the 5 khandhas, is the principle behind the grasping. Okay? Point 6. The citta is the only thing which is said to be perfected by samadhi and panna, wisdom. Steadfast in the soul means one is supremely fixed within the citta. Silakandavaga Arakara 1.168. The purification of one's own citta, this means the light, jyoti, within one's own mind, or citta, is the very soul. Atano, Dignikaya 2, Arakara 2.479. Silakandavaga Arakara 1.168. Steadfast in the soul, Tetatati, citta, means steadfast, fixed, permanent, unmoving. Citta, tetatati, steadfast in the soul, means one is supremely fixed within the mind. Supatita citta. In other words, supatita citta, supremely fixed within the citta, is equal to, is the same thing as saying supremely fixed within the soul. Anguttara Nikaya 1.186. With citta emancipated from ignorance, the only noun which is said to be freed of avidya, or ignorance. However, avidya means something much more intricate than ignorance. This designation means the soul has become Brahma, or Brahmabhu. Anguttara Nikaya 1.186. How important is that passage? Extremely. There is no higher laud in Scripture. Majjhima Nikaya 1.213. The collected and quelled mind, or citta, is the supreme soul, Mahata. Steadfast in the soul, Tetatati, means one is steadfast in one's true nature. True nature or self-nature. Most Buddhists know this term as svabhava, or in the Pali, sabhava. Steadfast in one's own true nature, Tita Sabhava, or Tita Sabhava. As Tikanapada Arakara 3.4. Citta is the only thing which is said to be the basis or the medium, the locus, for the recollection, smriti, recollection of past lives. In other words, the transmigrant. The whole notion of rebirth versus reincarnation in Buddhism is complete BS. I'll get into that in another video. There's no such thing as Buddhism teaches rebirth versus reincarnation. The only noun in Buddhism, in Scripture, which is said to be the basis, the core nexus, the locus of recollection of past lives, is the citta. The citta. He directs the citta to the recollection of past lives. Dignikaya 1.181. There are countless passages such as this. I don't need to go on. You can find the rest of them yourself. 8. Citta is the only thing which is said to be the foundation of itself, i.e. its own foundation, not based upon anything, i.e. a foundation of its own, anaramana. Literally means without any foundation. Without any foundation means it is its own foundation. That's a metaphysical point. If you don't understand that, maybe you need to wise up and maybe study a little philosophy or some metaphysics. Without a foundation means it is the foundation. Hence making the citta the absolute. Pariyarakara 2.478, the sovereign mind, which is its own support. Anaramana means the sovereign citta is the foundation. With one's own citta as its own foundation equals the Atman. Pariyarakara 4.26. Majjhima Nikaya 2.297, Nibbana is the foundation, that being the emancipated citta. Samyutta Nikaya 2.583, emancipation is meant the foundation, that being the establishment of the emancipated mind. Anguttara 1.138, supramundane samadhi is the foundation of Nibbana, that being the exceedingly quelled mind, or citta. Point 9. Citta is the only thing which is compared to an indestructible diamond. Anguttara Nikaya 1.124. What followers is a being who has a diamond mind, Vajita Puma Citta, that one who has destroyed taints, Anasava, and has with liberated citta and is liberated by wisdom. That is Citta Vimutta and Panna Vimutta, the two types of liberation spoken of not only in Buddhism, but also spoken of in Advaita Vedanta and the Upanishads, which would be Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma. Or in the Pali, is Anupadisa Nibbana and Saupadisa Nibbana. That's the point for another video. The two types of liberation. Just as there's nothing which a diamond cannot cut, be it a stone or a gem, the diamond to citta is referred to as that which is made perfect by wisdom and samadhi. That's another point for another video as well. I could do these videos in my sleep, by the way. I've debated them for so many years. I could literally do them half awake. Point 10. The entire Arya Atangika Magga, i.e. the Aryan Eightfold Path, is itself said to be both being and it ends with the citta as its basis. Majjhima Nikaya 1.197, followers of Brahma life does not live for Brahmacharya, by the way, meaning the path followed by Gautama's Arahas and Bhikkhu and Bhikkhunis. It does not live for the sake of gains, honors, or acclaim, nor does it live for the virtuousness, nor absorption, nor the gnosis and insight. This Brahma life, this Brahmacharya, is lived for the sole, preeminent purpose of emancipation of the citta alone, which is has as this path the liberation of the citta as the quintessential final core. Unquote. Majjhima Nikaya 1.197. How important is that? That, on a level of 1 to 10, is a 20 when it comes to importance in Buddhist metaphysics. That scores a 20 on a level of 1 to 10. You understand? Are you following me here? Majjhima Nikaya 1.301. What is samadhi? I.e. the culmination of the entire Aryatangika Magga, entire Aryan Eightfold Path. Samadhi, friends, is for making the citta sovereign. In other words, not dependent. The reversal of ignorance, which of course would be wisdom, absorption. The full and complete synthesis of the citta upon itself. No longer does the citta go out after the khandhas. It is a complete inversion, the removal of avidya. Point 11. The citta is the only thing, the only noun in the sutta, which is said to be goes towards the light or the heaven realm. Samyutta Nikaya 3.370. His citta goes heaven-bound to auspiciousness, not heaven in the Christian, the Judeo-Christian sense, but in the supernal sense, the sense of the absolute, the supernal heaven, quote-unquote, sense of actually obtaining the absolute. Most importantly, you may not understand this until you study metaphysics or philosophy in general. Number 12, most importantly, the citta is the only thing that is said to be obtained the freedom from nescience or ignorance or agnosis, avidya. Majjhima Nikaya 1.279. With his steadfast citta, perfectly purified, perfectly illumined, stainless, utterly perfect, pliable, sturdy, fixed, everlastingly determinate, he directs his citta towards the gnosis of the destruction of defilements. Knowing thus and seeing thus, his citta is emancipated, subhimutta cittasa, from sensual desires. His citta is liberated from becoming, bhava. Very important. His most important point right here is the citta is emancipated from avidya, or avidya in Sanskrit, ignorance. Important. 13. The only proper noun which is said to attain the state of emancipation, vimutta, is the citta. The only noun which is said to be liberated. The spiritus sancta, the nous, the self. The Atman and the citta in Scripture, by the way, this is a point for another video, are not differentiated, nor is it in any branch of Advaita Vedanta, the Upanishads, or any branch of general metaphysics and mysticism. the spirit or the mind. However, in English, we don't differentiate mind from consciousness. So we think of it as the lump of flesh between our ears, i.e. the brain. The mind and the consciousness is there, and in English, we don't differentiate that. However, in all forms of metaphysics, of ontology, there is a distinct differentiation made between the mind and the consciousness. The consciousness is consubstantial, the mind is not. It is wrapped up due to avidya and is coordinate within the psychophysical body. We'll talk about that later and be a point for another video. As per the superior versus the inferior path, the citta is the sole basis of the superior path. Point 14. Arya cittasa anasava cittasa arimaga samigino. The Aryan citta, the taintless citta, this is that which the Aryan path is endowed with. Majjhima Nikaya 3.72. How important is that? Arimaga samigino, Arya cittasa anasava cittasa. Very important. Point 15. Citta is the only thing which is deemed to be the highest absolute. Majjhima Nikaya 1.298. Emancipation of the mind of the citta is the highest absolute. Same passage. Of all types of unmanifest emancipations of the citta, the fixed, unshakable emancipation of the citta is the highest supernal. Point 16. The entire basis for Buddhism itself is said to be for and regards to the citta. How important is this? Point 16. The purification of one's own citta. This is the doctrine of the Buddha. How is it, as I'd said before, how is it that one is called a Buddha? Gnosis that the citta is purified, Vishurya. Such is how one is deemed a Buddha. In other words, Buddhahood equals Vimutta citta, vice versa. Vimutta citta equals Buddhahood. How important is that? Well, it doesn't get any more important than that. Okay? Majjhima Nikaya 2.144, Anguttara Nikaya 1.6. I do not have disciples insight into anything or any Dhamma which, when made to become and made to expand, brings greater bliss than the citta. Not my translation, not my opinion, not my conjecture. This is what the Pali says. If you want to go learn Pali and spend 15 years to do it, fine. You'll come to the same conclusion. Even my detractors, even the Theravadins, the soul-denying nihilists, they translate this the same way. This is the back door to getting around their whole denial of the self, the soul thing. We can forget about anatta and atman. Let's just discuss the citta, okay? Two are the same term. Metaphysically, both are the self, obviously. Are akondic, are not kondic, are not psychophysical. There is nothing that brings greater bliss than the citta. The citta followers, when made to become, made to expand, in other words, synthesis, or the fulfillment of jhana samadhi, epistros, the culmination of the via negativa, the apophasis, the complete objective negation of all which you are not. Isakaya na maisata. None of these things are myself, my soul. The fruition of samadhi, the fruition of wisdom. Samyutta Nikaya 1.126. These followers absorb the citta, flawless, having assimilated the soul, a charioteer in control of the reins. Sages like them guard the supernal power. That's Samyutta Nikaya 1.26. By the way, the Samyutta Nikaya, Book 1, right next to the Sutta and the Udana and Irivutaka, is the oldest of the oldest sections. Even the very best quote-unquote Pali translators, of which there are only a very, very small handful, and I mean a handful, in the entire world. They rack their brains out, and they've already pulled their hair out. Look at me as an example, trying to translate the ancient Pali of this particular book. Point 17, last point here. And there are actually many more points, but I'm not going to bore you with some of the finer nuances of metaphysics as regards to the citta. Point 17, the citta is the only noun, the only thing in the sutta which is deemed to achieve freedom from becoming, bhava. All things as become must pass. The born, the made, the become, the create has no other fate than to pass, just as they have arisen. The philosophical implication that the citta can transcend causation, becoming, cannot be denied as a metaphysical quintessential superimportance. In other words, on a scale of 1 to 10, again, this is another 20. My citta emancipated from desires, kama, emancipated from becoming, bhava, emancipated from nescience, or ignorance, or agnosis, avidya. Emancipation, emancipation at last. There exists no fruit more exquisite and perfect than this. Designations 1.84. This is not my translation. When you look at the original Pali, or even other translations, you'll even read the same thing. The no-soul deniers, when it comes to the citta, will lay it out for you. They're always on guard when it comes to Pali passages regarding the Atman. They fudge over it. They translate as yourself, myself, himself. They try to undercut it. But when it comes to the citta, they say, well, that's okay. They translate it that way. However, the citta and the Atman are not differentiated in the sutta. Both are one and the same thing. In another video, we'll get onto the point of, in English, we don't have a differentiation between mind and consciousness. We think of it as coordinate within the psychophysical, i.e. the brain. In short, I'll tell you this. As far as Buddhism, metaphysics, and metaphysics in general, Advaita Vedanta and Upanishadic thought all agree on this point, by the way, as well as Platonism. Consciousness, in simplex terms, is the coordinate and the consubstantial light. If the light is the citta, then the coordinate and consubstantial light is the consciousness, or the vijnana. What does that mean? A white light falls on a red wall comes off, red light comes off of that red wall to your eyes. That red light would be red consciousness. White light on a blue wall, blue light comes to your eyes, you see a blue wall. That blue light that comes to your eyes is consubstantial to that blue wall. That would be blue consciousness. The coordinate light, before it ever makes contact with and passes through a filter, or is reflected off of a filter. In this sense, in the metaphysics, we speak of the psychophysical. In other words, the illumined person. The radio, which is not actually inside the radio signal, but which is coordinate to it. The quote-unquote little people inside the TV set, which is actually just the signal, which is not part of the TV set, nor is the signal part of the radio. You smash the radio, you smash the TV set, you still have the signal. That signal would be the citta. This is a very simplex way for you to understand how, metaphysically, the consciousness is differentiated from the mind, because in English we don't have the connotation, denotation of how to differentiate the two. This is what it is meant in the actual metaphysics of monism. Buddhism, of course, is a variety of monism. It's a Brahmanic condensation of Upanishadic thought. This is also the principle of Advaita Vedanta and all of Upanishads. Specifically Buddhism. I'll get into a later video where I've actually spent countless thousands of hours researching every occurrence of the term vijnana, or consciousness, as translated, as differentiated from that of the citta, meaning the nous, the mind, the spirit. Okay? Simply put, like I said, the citta is the light. It is the signal, the coordinate, XYZ coordinate, locus, i.e. consubstantial. Consubstantial, you need to look up that term, consubstantial, what does it mean? In other words, it cannot exist without that psychophysical. White light passes through a red filter, red light comes to your eyes. Okay? That red light would be the red consciousness. In other words, without that filter, there is no red light. The red light being the consciousness. So white light is always there. I'm not going to talk about white lighters in the New Age movement. But without that psychophysical body, okay, there is no more consciousness. But that has nothing to do with the citta, the nous, or the mind, okay? This is the back door for getting around. I didn't create this. This is in doctrine. This is the back door for getting around the no soul nonsense. They've built up a stainless door, modern Buddhism has, and it's clearly pointed out, okay? They think that there is no Atman. That's perfectly fine. I can debate them on the Atta Anatman doctrine all day long. Of course, there is no Anatman doctrine. There is only the 22 nouns which are called Anatta, which are not the self, not the soul. The quickest way to get around them is my expertise in 15 plus years researching the citta, or the nous, the mind, the spirit, in Buddhist scripture. That's the door they're not used to getting attacked upon. It's like the burglar that came to the house that was built like a fortress, and the front door had 6 locks on it with solid stainless, but he went around to the back door and he found, well, the back door is the same, but the window is open. So he got inside the rear window and he completely ransacked the house. Quickest way to destroy the premise of modern Buddhism and its soul-denying nihilism, because it is a rancid heap of soul-denying nihilists. The Christian and Jewish rejects, they hover around Buddhism like flies around a dung heap. Agnostics and atheists, all of them alike. They believe that Buddhism is some form of moralistic humanism. The back door, or the back window that's open, of course, is the citta. I hope this video wasn't too dry or boring, but you need to understand that those 17 points I just pointed out to you regarding the citta and the citta alone in Scripture, okay, is extremely important. If you have any interest at all, whether you hate me or not, whether my voice sucks or not, or whether you like the way that I speak or have given this lecture, irrelevant. If you are a truth seeker, if you care about investigating original Buddhism, okay, you need to make note of these 17 points that I've made, because you're not going to read this anywhere, okay? I didn't pull this out of a book, okay? These are the translations I've been working on for 15 years. Pulling out all these occurrences where citta is proprietary, A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Super, super important. So like I said, most of these on a scale of 1 to 10 are a 20 as regards the metaphysics of Buddhism. Buddhahood equals the citta. The only thing which is liberated is the citta. The only thing which is said to be freed from avidya is the citta. The only thing that is said to gain amata, immortality, is the citta. On and on and on and on and on. There aren't 17 points. There are actually 29 that I've made list of and several more, but I'm not going to bore you with 18 through 29. I've brought to you currently in this little video 1 through 17. If you have any interest, let me restate it again, in Buddhism, whether you like me or not, I don't care. A truth seeker is only interested in the truth, just as I am. Okay? Make note of these 17 points, and don't take my word for it. Investigate them yourselves. You'll find that they are correct, even in the bad translation by the soul deniers, because they're not used to getting attacked on the quote-unquote, what I call the citta front. Okay, the spirit front, or the mind. Citta is 99% of the time translated as mind. This creates a problem, like I said before, because in English we don't really differentiate mind from consciousness, but in metaphysics, in Buddhism, in monism, in Platonism, in Advaita Vedanta, in the Upanishadic thought, mind and consciousness are succinctly differentiated. Once again, in the analogy of the signal versus the radio, the signal versus the TV set, the light versus the filter, and the light, the consubstantial light, which has passed through that filter. White light through a red filter, you see red light after the filter. White light through a blue filter, you see blue light, or blue consciousness, or Ravinian after that filter. Okay, that is consciousness. That is the analogy, specifically in the most condensed form I could give to you, of differentiating consciousness from mind in all branches of metaphysics, not just Buddhism. This isn't my opinion, this isn't my conjecture. This is countless, endless years of pure, utter devotion, not working a job, not having to work a job. Okay? Investigating this and this alone. Countless thousands of hours have been condensed down for you in just a small few-minute video. I hope you take this and run with it. Okay? If you're interested in Buddhism at all, you make note of these 17 points. Thank you, and I'll talk about consciousness and anatta. And the next video I'll be discussing what is samadhi in actuality and give you a short little analogy. Tell you what actually jhana or samadhi is and is not. Give you a really simplex analogy to make things super clear to you very quickly.